Welcome back, everyone. So, look, Bitcoin has now broken below the 200-week moving average and is sitting at $61,689 as I'm recording this. And yes, the situation looks bad on the surface, but today I want to show you something on this chart that I think most people are completely missing right now. So, let's try and simplify the entire picture and let me walk you through exactly what I'm seeing, because there are actually some very specific and important levels that I need to show you right now. And also, by the way, I want to show you what strategy just did, because I think it's actually the most important signal on this entire chart right now. So stay with me. So what I'm going to do right now, let's go on the daily time frame and let's try to identify exactly where we are in this structure. First things first, let me show you the most important indicators we need to pay attention to right now. Now let me go right here with the RSI, the relative strength index, and what I want you to see is something very, very significant. The daily RSI is currently sitting at 24.27. Now, the oversold level is at 30. We are at 24. That is one of the most oversold daily RSI readings Bitcoin has ever had. To give you context, the last time we saw the daily RSI this low was November 2022, right at the FTX bottom, right at the absolute low of the entire bear market. Not only that, and this is something I want you to pay close attention to, if you go right here and look at the price action and then compare it to the RSI, we can actually see that Bitcoin is forming a bullish divergence. Price is making a lower low, but the RSI is actually forming a higher low. That is a classic bullish divergence, and what it tells us is that selling momentum is actually weakening even as price pushes lower. Now, let me also show you what is happening right now with the CVD indicator. CVD stands for cumulative volume delta, and what it measures is simply whether more buying or selling pressure is coming into the market. And right now, even as Bitcoin is printing lower lows on the price chart, the CVD is actually forming higher lows. That means we're getting bullish absorption. Real buyers are stepping in at these levels and absorbing the selling pressure. That right there is another bullish Bitcoin indication. Now, what I want to do right now is go with our Fibonacci retracement. Let me apply this from the exact bear market low at $15,500 all the way up to the recent all-time high at approximately $107,000. And what you're now going to see is the golden Fibonacci ratio, the 0.618 level, coming in at approximately $55,000 to $56,500. And not only that, when we also go here with our volume profile and look at the value area low of the entire horizontal range Bitcoin has been trading in since early 2025, that value area low is coming in at approximately $65,300. Now, here's what that means in plain terms. If Bitcoin can get acceptance back above $65,300, that is the first bullish indication that the worst may be over. If we stay below it, it remains a red flag and the path toward our golden Fibonacci ratio stays open. Now, let me show the liquidation heat map, because there is something very interesting sitting right below us at $60,300 that I think changes the picture significantly. And also, if you want to trade with us, you can take advantage of a free bonus using the first link down below in the description. Not only that, you click the link, you register on Bitunix, and only after you register, you are already going to get 20 USDT completely for free. Then make sure you deposit at least 100 USDT and you get another 20 USDT on top of that. But also, when you open up your first trade, you are going to get even bigger bonuses. So make sure to use the first link down below in the description. Now, what I want to do, let me go here with the Bitcoin liquidation heat map on the 3-day time frame. And what you're going to see right now is something very, very interesting. The biggest liquidation cluster on the entire Bitcoin chart right now is sitting at approximately $60,300. That means the largest concentration of leverage positions, the ones that would get forced out, are sitting right around 60,000 to 6,300. Now, why is this important? Because when price approaches a major liquidation cluster, either it gets hit and the forced liquidations add temporary selling pressure before a sharp bounce, or the market respects it as a floor and bounces before even reaching it. Either way, 60,000 to 60,300 is the next major area of support I'm personally paying a very close attention to. And not only that, below this level, if 60,000 does give way, we're talking about our major golden Fibonacci ratio at 55,000 to 56,500. Now, I want to be very transparent with you. If you get a break and acceptance below 60,000, my next major area of support is that golden ratio zone. That is where the daily and weekly high time frame levels are also converging. That is not the base case, but it is the level I'm watching if things continue lower. Now, let me also go on the weekly time frame, because the weekly RSI is telling us something important as well. The weekly RSI is right now at 33.20. Oversold on the weekly is 30. We are 3 points away way. And what I'm going to show you is that historically, when the weekly RSI has been at these levels outside of a full bear market, Bitcoin has recovered within 4 to 6 weeks every single time. And if we also right now go on the 4-hour time frame and look at the trend structure honestly, the reality is Bitcoin is still trading in a downtrend on the lower time frames, lower highs, lower lows. The hyper trend indicator on the 4-hour is still pointing downward. So what I'm going to say to you is this: even though we have all these bullish signals on the daily and the weekly RSI, even though we have CVD showing bullish absorption, the 4-hour trend is still down. And for me to tell you right now that we have definitely bottomed at exactly this level would simply be a guess. What I can tell you is we have hit a very important area, and the indicators are saying the selling is getting exhausted. And now I need to show you what strategy just did, because this is actually what changes my entire read on the current situation. Okay, so let me now talk about something that I think is actually one of the most important signals of this entire week. And if you have been following my channel, you know I have been talking about the standard chartered indicator. That strategy's next buy would signal the bottom was in. Strategy just purchased 1,550 Bitcoin at an average price of $65,332 per coin. Total holdings now 845,000 Bitcoin. And what did Saylor post on Sunday before the buy? He said a good time to add more dots. And then they filled with a SAC on Monday confirming the purchase. MST art stock jumped 6.55% in pre-market on that news. Now here's the context I need you to understand. CryptoQuant's CEO said this week that without Strategy's purchases, Bitcoin would have already fallen to $22,000. That tells you something about the structural demand they have been providing. And Bernstein analyst, one of the most respected firms on Wall Street, retreated an outperform rating on MSTR with a $450 price target and said Strategy's balance sheet remains over-collateralized and liquid even though a 50% drawdown. On the ETF side, 4 straight weeks of billion-dollar outflows, $1.72 billion last week alone. IBIT accounted for $1.34 billion of that. Now, the important context here, the chief operating officer of Altura DeFi said this is a macro-driven repricing, not a Bitcoin-specific concern. Stronger US employment data, rising treasury yields, reduced rate cut expectations. The selling is institutional risk management, not people giving up on Bitcoin. There is a difference. So let me put the entire picture together and show you exactly where I'm personally positioned and the 2 specific scenarios I'm watching. And not only that, if you still haven't used the first link down below, now is really the time. You click the link, you register on Bitunix, you get 20 USDT for free just for signing up. Deposit at least 100 USDT and you get another 20 USDT. And when you open your first trade, you are going to get even bigger bonuses on top of that. Everything is in the first link down below in the description. Alright, let me put everything together and show you the 2 scenarios I'm working with right now. What I'm going to do right now, let me draw the 2 paths I'm personally watching, because the reality right now is we have some very specific bullish signals. The daily RSI at 24.27 is one of the most oversold readings in Bitcoin's history. The CVD is showing bullish absorption. The weekly RSI is approaching oversold territory, but at the same time, the 4-hour trend is still a downtrend and Bitcoin is still below the value area low of $65,300, which is a red flag. Now, there is scenario 1, the bullish case. Bitcoin bounces from this area, we get a rotation back towards the upside. The first resistance I'm going to be paying attention to is $65,300, the value area low. If Bitcoin gets acceptance above that level, that is the first real bullish indication. Above that 68,000, the 200-week EMA now acting as resistance. A reclaim of 68,000 on the weekly and suddenly the narrative flips completely. This is the path toward the 200-day EMA at 79,000 over the coming weeks. Now, there is scenario 2, the bearish case. Bitcoin continues lower. We take out the 60,300 liquidation cluster. The temporary selling pressure hits. The next level I'm then looking at is the golden Fibonacci ratio at $55,000 to 56,500. That is where the daily and weekly high time frame levels converge. That is where I would be looking to add size if we go there. Now, personally, here is where I stand. I have been adding small stage positions in this $60,000 to $65,000 range. Not all in. I want to see acceptance back above 65,300 before I add more size. But the daily RSI at 24, the MVRV Z-score at 0.27, which is the lowest reading we have seen since the absolute bottom of 2022. And strategy buying 1,550 Bitcoin right at these prices. All of that tells me we are very close to or at a major bottom formation. And just to give you the MVRV context one more time, a reading of 0.27 means Bitcoin is trading at 73 53% below the average cost basis of the entire market. In Bitcoin's entire history, a reading this low has only appeared twice. Both times it was right at the cycle bottom. So what I would actually say like this, the key level I'm personally watching right now is $65,300, acceptance above it, bullish indication, let's look for the higher targets, rejection below it and continuation lower. The golden Fibonacci ratio at $55,000 to $56,500 is where I will be most aggressively adding. The bottom line, $65,300 is the level, acceptance above it, everything changes. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will be watching this very closely. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.